Hello folks, I've bought another watch. This one I bought on AliExpress, and despite coming from China to the UK it took just 10 days to arrive, which is a big improvement on my past experiences buying from China. This watch is a Pagani design PG1664 chronograph. Now this watch bears a not accidental similarity to a Rolex Daytona, and like a lot of other watches available on AliExpress, is what you might call a homage, if you like them like I do, or if you're a bit less charitable, a copy, photocopy, rip-off, insert the appropriate phrase, of watches that are far more exclusive, far more expensive, and harder to get from the luxury watch manufacturers. So let's go and have a look at what I bought. The watch came in quite a nice cardboard box. It's nothing special, it's only made of cardboard, but it has a nice soft feel imitation suede part on the inside of the lid, and it's fairly sturdy and certainly good enough to protect the watch from transit damage or anything like that, and just about pretty enough to present someone as a gift. What I actually received was obviously the watch itself in a rather nice cardboard box with a suede effect on the inside of the lid, a microfiber cleaning cloth, a spare NATO strap in a sort of James Bond grey and black stripe, which is actually very pleasant and a nice surprise, a Pagani design user's manual and international guarantee, and the guarantee card, which as usual with these things comes without being filled in at all, so really useless and just really for show. The watch I chose was rose gold with a black dial and a silicone strap. The watch comes in a number of different colours, the majority of which are in oyster style steel bracelets. It's interesting to note that this version has a significant difference to the ones on bracelets. Look here between the lugs. Instead of an open gap, which would accommodate the solid end link of the bracelet, there's a piece of metal, which is an integral part of the case. This is intended to provide a nice gapless interface with NATO or other straps. I think it looks spot on, but buyers should note this as it would limit fitting a bracelet to this model in the future. It feels nice and solid in the hand. It has what you might call a bit of a heft about it. I know that weight isn't necessarily a designator of quality, but I often feel that lighter watches feel flimsy and cheap. This watch was cheap by high street standards. The listed price on AliExpress was around £54, but there was a £10 shipping charge added. For this, you have a PVD coated steel case. This is important because in the cheaper watch arena, you often get some sort of chrome-plated alloy, or if you're luckier, brass. The watch has a lovely design, which as we know was borrowed from elsewhere, but the fit and finish of the components is really good. The dial is gloss black with applied indices in rose gold. The minute track, logo and dial printing are also in gold, apart from the word sport in a different italic font in red. The subdials at 3, 6 and 9 are nicely designed with rose gold faces machined with a nice concentric circular design. The case is polished, the bezel is ceramic, the crystal is sapphire, and the screw-in solid case back is nicely engraved with a starfish logo. Many times I've heard reviewers remark on mineral crystals with "you can't expect sapphire at this price point." The crystal doesn't seem to have any AR coating, but legibility is at least, with this colourway, good. It's a manually wound or automatic chronograph. It runs on a VK63 Seiko Mecha quartz movement. This is a bit of a gem in the quartz movement world. It has a quartz accuracy, but the chrono moves and feels like a mechanical one. The big advantage it has over others is that Seiko reckon it should be good for 3 years between battery changes. That 3 years is with the chrono being used no more than 60 seconds a day. Most of us won't use the chrono that often, so the battery should last even longer. As you can see, the main second hand doesn't show the passage of time in normal watch mode. The passage of seconds is indicated on the 6 o'clock subdial. This is because the watch is a fully functioning chronograph and tachymeter. To operate the chrono tachymeter, you need to unscrew the top and bottom pushers. They screw in like the crown to maintain the water resistance. Warning here is that there's a fair amount of thread. The top pusher starts the main second hand moving with a second push to stop it. The watch can then be reset using the bottom pusher. Don't forget to screw them back in. The negatives with this watch are actually quite minor. The first one is there is lume on the dial, on the indices and on the hands, but it is absolutely useless on the hands and barely visible, even when fully charged on the indices. Another negative here is that the pushers for the chronograph have to be unwound from the watch body in order to function. Now this is to preserve the water resistance, which is rated at 100 meters on this watch, but there's an awful lot of thread on these pushers. So it takes a little while to unwind the watch, and it takes a little while to wind them back in again. And I think some people might be tempted to leave them not fully screwed back in, and that would compromise the water resistance. As with many of these watches, the value proposition is very difficult to argue against. What we have here is a 100 meter water resistant watch with a steel case, not a brass case or a zinc alloy case with some sort of plating on it, but a steel case with a nice PVD finish on it. Now the watch is 100 meters water resistant. It has a movement from a big brand, but it has a sapphire crystal and a ceramic bezel. These sort of specifications aren't available at prices sub £100 on the high street in Great Britain. Anyway, perhaps in other parts of the world, but I doubt it. Specification wise, this watch compares very favourably with big brands like Seiko and Citizen. Indeed, it's a Seiko movement that's inside the watch. While it compares very favourably with those aforementioned brands, it actually supersedes them at this price range. And other watches that cost hundreds of pounds, for example Armani Exchange or Michael Kors and other fashion brands, don't offer nearly the specification for the very much greater price. Now I realise some people may feel uncomfortable with the fact that this is a homage of a very expensive and very exclusive brand. But I'd argue that this watch gives the look and to some extent the feel of that luxury watch. And it has the added advantage of actually being available brand new for customers when they want it. As with all things, you pay your money and you take your choice. But I think most people would be very satisfied with this watch, and I'm very pleased that I bought it. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.